Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining. We're looking at Horus here. I drew him out in a video that I put on my shorts channel that I instantly deleted because I got a little crazy in it. Got a little loud. And you know, that's how I got my nickname, Fits. Right? Every now and then I throw a fit. But I just wanted to show you guys the arm and the character that definitely resembles Horus. We can see perhaps the two legs here, and we see the white and the red and the black paint on here. Now this color was supposed to be gray. It looks green to me, but I did do a pretty decent job, and then I tried to fill in his eye, and his eye is supposed to be a different color in this painting here. You can kind of see that different color there, but just wanted to kind of point that out to you guys so that you guys could see it, and maybe we'll take this into some different lights so that you can see it a little better, but I think you guys got the idea. It's pretty wild to see a Horus, a bird god, in this Native American or North American art, I should say. It's Native American as well. Maybe we should talk about that. Maybe we should discuss, you know, because we're going to discuss this right now. So a lot of you understand that the way that I found out about this art, the way that I started learning about it, was from a mound that was being destroyed in the back of my house out in Graham. I called news agencies. Of course, I called the archaeologists first because I was naive and thinking that they would try to help. And by calling the news agencies, I was able to get a hold of Cavalier, who is a local indigenous representative who stepped out from tribal council and the tribal government, rather, I should say, to do her activism when what she does now is the 7 directions of service, which protects our waterways, and it stops our government from destroying our lands. So I'll leave a link to her channel, her cause, in the description. It's a really big deal here in North Carolina, Virginia, and this area because we have so much water and we see the oil going into our waterways. Regardless, my point is that when she came down with her husband, his name is Bear, really fantastic guy, but he let me know straight up. He told me straight up that if the archaeologists do prove that this is something, that it's going to be portrayed as something older than Native American, and so they're not going to be able to tie themselves to this land. This is something that I've always kept in my mind, obviously, because I'm speaking about it now, but it's something that now, today, that I think about even more, that it could very well be their ancestors. They're still tied to this. These Native Americans have been here for upwards of 20, 30,000 years. We know this. We know this from our own archaeological professionals. We know this. However, what they do is they stifle and stop and suppress the knowledge of these people, these natural people who were masters of nature, masters of animals, masters of, for an example, and I hate to just jump around, but I really need to get this out to you guys. They were masters so much that they could find animals that walked through trails. They could look at branches that were broken. They could see grass that was laid down. They looked at the details of things on a level that us as, you know, people that just stare at our cell phones all day, or people that, you know, grew up watching, even our, you know, I'm 43, right? Even us that just kind of watched cartoons and we weren't living in nature. We don't have that level of detail. And that's, somehow I was able to gain that a little bit anyway, by looking at this stone art. And the other people, you guys who know about the stone art, are able to have that level of detail as well. And what it all comes around to is that perhaps the government, you know, these treaties that were signed, there's a lot to be learned in these treaties that were signed by these Native American groups that are federally recognized. Now, that doesn't include a lot of North Carolina groups. Guys, I'm going to leave another interview with Crystal Cavalier and the HBO producer that came down to do a documentary on this situation, because that interview taught me so much, gave me so much information to research on my own. I didn't even know about John Lawson before I saw that video. And I was in the interview, but my signal was bad. But I'm going to leave a link to that too. You guys got to watch that, so that especially if you're in Virginia, Georgia, Tennessee, anywhere in the southeastern ceremonial complex, and even in Ohio, all the way up to Pennsylvania, Vermont, it's a whole thing over here. Now, Dakotas and California, and so learning about this stuff, you will be able to learn more about those areas. However, they have their own styles. We all know that we become experts in our local motifs. And motif, of course, means style, right? Or, yeah, style. That's for lack of a better term. I'm sure there's a better way to describe it, but we become experts in these local motifs. And I hope I'm looking at the camera correctly. But I just wanted to let you guys know, there's a reason. There's a reason why they hide this. And I'm talking about the federal government. The reason why they hide it is because it is really giving you the keys to looking at details, looking at history. Since I've learned about this stuff, I don't want to go on a rant. I really don't. But since I've learned about this stuff, I've gone on to several websites, and I told you guys I was going to tell you about the ones that I'm listening to right now. I'll put links to those down in the description as well. Rory Casagranda, he's a professor over at the Austin School. He'll teach you about the history of Iran, which is the country now that we're at war with, if you haven't heard. He'll teach you about World War I, World War II. There's some gruesome stuff that happened, especially in these world wars. I mean, percussion bombs, there's a whole lot, and I'm not going to sit here and lecture you like he can do it. But I urge you guys just to be knowledgeable, because that is what this art teaches you. It teaches you to look at the details. Even in the military, right? I joined in 2001, and even in the military, sorry if I got loud, they taught us to pay attention to detail. Attention to detail. That's everything, right? They didn't teach me that in school, but in the military they did, because they needed us to be the best that we could be. So there's a lot to unpack. We are, as Americans, living in a bubble, right? And I'm going to get off here. I'm sure that half of you guys have probably already clicked off, but thank you for watching, and we'll show a few more artifacts here, drawings of artifacts. So here we have a drawing of this artifact that's behind this one. And I have several of these. Let me find a good spot to put these. We'll put them right here. And let's see if I can do this. Because the shadows and the light really make a big difference to be able to see this, right? So perhaps you can see this woman's statue here portrayed. Now that you guys can kind of see how everything lines up with this, I'm going to go ahead and pull this away, and maybe we can just look at this with some good light. Here we are. It's a really good shot of it. And so what we have here is what's called a ridge eye. And so underneath this little ridge that you see for the eye above here, it's a little hard to balance there, but if you look closely at these details, you can see these lines in here. And underneath that ridge, you'll see a circle. You might already begin to be able to see it. You see how there's a circle underneath that ridge. So when you're looking at these artifacts and you see a face shape and you see a ridge like that, when you look under that ridge, you will see the circle for that eye. And I'll try to maybe change the the shadows a little bit more, but the reason why it doesn't just look like the woman, which to me it really does look like the woman here, but it's because there's a bird on top of the head. You can see the triangle beak and how this is all rough behind here. So in all instances, there's actually a circle eye here too, outside of that. I did not notice that circle before. So you can look at a few different eyes and you can look at it in different ways. So we look at the outside edge of the stone for the initial image, but then that interior, you see how there's a definitive black darkness on this interior edge. That interior edge is the more detailed, more photorealistic portrait of this human. And of course you can imagine they wouldn't put the most detail on the very edge because that could get banged up, right? The most detailed things are in the interior. And I feel called to just shout out Seven Rocks. He doesn't do videos anymore, but Seven Rocks taught me a whole lot. A lot of this is just about belief. And then whenever you flip these stones over and you can see how now this is a painted version with the eye. And that little white chip in there shows you that these are all white crystal. They're just painted crystals. But, you know, Seven Rocks from the Bronx, I hope he's doing well. His videos just disappeared. His whole channel disappeared. So just wanted to shout him out. Guys, those links for the people who I am trying to learn from are in the description. And you guys will find your own people that you learn from. You know, you take what you want, you take what you like, you disregard what you don't like, but it's so much more important than just watching, you know, BS. We have to become knowledgeable about history. And that's what we study here on this channel. We study history. We study the history of human beings and human evolution. And I'm kind of the reluctant tutor. And I really I'm trying to open the door for you guys to be able to see it on your own and do your own research. I'm just hoping that I spark off this within you so that you can continue this on your own. And, you know, when you do it, when you do your research, make videos about it. You know, share it with everybody else. It's very important to teach each other because obviously they're not going to do it for us. We have to do it ourselves, right? All right, thank you guys. I don't want to make this video longer than 13 minutes, and I really do appreciate your time tonight. I got some salad to eat, and I got some good food in the oven. So I'm gonna eat some dinner. Have a great one. Bye.